Yo, it's your boy. Back with another one on Frames and Flops. This week we're going to be talking about Outriders World Slayer. Now, if y'all don't remember, last year Outriders dropped and it was pretty rough. But they turned it around, and with New Horizons last year in November, a lot of big changes, balances. It's been quiet for a while, but just this past week, the release of World Slayer, the expansion, hit live, and I'm in love even more. There's a common phrase going on right now with some reviewers saying it's just more Outriders, and damn it, it is, but it's top notch to me. So just a quick intro about what's happening. There's a new story with this expansion, and there's a new end game, new skills, new mods, the loot tier system. Is just a lot of what made Outriders good. They added it and made it better. So the story, I promise not to spoil anything. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. The base game pretty much explained why humans ended up on this planet. You know, of course, humans being humans tore up the earth, and we found a way to make life somewhere else, and we ended up on a planet called Enoch. And on Enoch, we learned about an anomaly, and an anomaly gave a lot of people superhuman powers. And that's pretty much what the base Outriders game is about, is just figuring out why we got there, what happened, and what the anomaly is all about, because the anomaly ended up out of control. So now, with World Slayer, we're here. We're on Enoch. We're part of it. We ain't going nowhere. So we're digging deeper and finding out more about the natives of that planet. It's a lot of twists, but it's pretty cool. And then at the end of this new expansion, once you do the campaign and you do your first run of the trials of Tarya Gurtar, you end on a big cliffhanger. And cliffhangers can be annoying, but at the same time, what we learned through the story and through the dialogue while you're going through trials, it's pretty doggone interesting. So I'm hoping that, of course, the game is successful and they follow up with more. So check it out. Don't just rush through the story. Watch the cutscenes. Make sure your first time doing trials that you actually listen to the dialogue, because it's a lot of discovery. So I want to really touch on the mechanics of the game and how the game is designed to be played, because I feel like a lot of people are jumping into it trying to play the game in a way it's not really meant to be played. It's like me trying to play Elden Ring like Ninja Gaiden or whatever else, doggone Bushido Blade, I don't know. But just some basics, cover. I've seen people say getting in cover is oppressive. It doesn't feel good. Cover ain't for you. Cover is for the enemies. Yes, if you get in cover, they're going to throw bombs and smoke you out. The snipers are going to pop you and stun you. You don't use cover in the sense like it's Gears of War or The Division. The way you use cover is by positioning yourself while you're moving, moving in the right spot, so you're not a sitting duck, or you seeing where the area of effect is going to be at, where they'll show a big red marker where the bomb's going to be, and just moving. But the thing is that you have to kill to heal, but each class heals differently. There's 4 classes: Devastator, Trickster, Pyromancer, Technomancer. Each of them has a different type of mechanic to heal. So you can't just think, well, I'm shooting them and killing them and I'm not healing. And if you're doing that on a Devastator and you shooting them from a long range and killing them, you're not healing. Unless you got some things going on with your build. But for the most part, you have to kill your enemies in a specific way. You have to use your abilities for the most part, or be in close range So understand, cover ain't your friend, and killing isn't just gun go bang, enemies dead, I'm supposed to be healed. It's intricate. Also, the enemy density. The higher you go up in your tiers, it's going to feel oppressive. But at the same time, I've heard the sentiment in other games that the enemy density is so light and I feel like I'm killing everything too fast and there's nothing to kill. Well, that ain't the case in Outriders. They enemies are there for you to make them mincemeat. Blow them up, kill them, use your abilities, spam your abilities. Again, make sure that you're killing your enemies in a way that suits your class. You will see the satisfaction when there's a group of enemies coming towards you and you got the right build on, and then somehow whatever, like a pyromancer, you put them with a bomb and then that bomb chains and then it's boom, 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 boom. It's fun. So yes, they can overwhelm you, but understand that there's tiers. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, drop the tier, get your build right. And that leads to my next point. Builds. Just because you see that your gear number is bigger, that does not mean that you're just going to automatically fly through at the current tier you on. So you've been playing on Apocalypse tier 14 and all your gear is averaging, your gear score is what? 50, 49. And then you level up that tier and go to 15. And then all of a sudden you're starting to get drops that are, however many levels above you. Now you get an average gear score of 51, 52, and you just equip it and it doesn't synergize with your skill tree and your mods. You're going to have a hard time. It's all about the builds and your skills and getting the right synergy so they all play with each other. It's a very, very intricate game, but I've heard people clamor for, making builds that are very specific and not brain dead. Yeah, that's the phrase. Brain dead. So no, you just can't equip the gear with the biggest number and think you're just going to have an easy skate. It's not going to happen. Also, this is a looter shooter, but your guns don't have an identity. Your guns are tools for you to enable mods and skills. You'll have a gun that has the right stats, crit damage, healing, critical hit damage, all kind of other stats. But then you have mods. One, some will rain down a meteorite, some will freeze enemies, some will set them on fire, inflict a status, bleed, toxic, weakness. So you're using your guns to feed into your mods and your skill trees. So don't just think, well, this gun has horrible recoil. Well, yeah, maybe it does, but the end game it ain't for you to get the most best feeling gun. It's about getting the gun with the right stats and mods that overall make your build just monstrous. So just keep that in mind as well. Also, the game is very mathematical, so you really got to understand multiplicative and additive damage scaling. The better you understand how, they're saying once you get this going, it's going to increase your damage by this percent or this much, this hard number, and how the anomaly damage and firepower and the statuses, how it all ties into what the mods are saying that you can do. It's very, it's a very intricate game. It's not simple as shoot, aim, shoot, dead. You really have to put some thought into it. And that's the fun of it to me, is because you'll see someone at the same level as you, trying to do the same things as you with the same type of character, but they can melt a boss in literal 10 seconds at the highest tier because they got it so synergized the right way with gear set bonuses. So if you have the legendary gear, which would be the yellow quote unquote exotic gear, you get gear set bonuses. So if you got the 3 pieces plus all the mods plus your skill trees, man, look, you can do some real damage, and that's the fun of it. But you got to get it right. So those are just some of the basics of how to really play the game. And I've heard people clamoring for builds and synergistic type of mods and things. It's here for you if that's your thing. If it's not, then well, it's not for you. That's okay. So a little bit more about the new stuff. So before you had a world tier and a challenge tier for the end game. Now they've normalized everything. So everything now is just an apocalypse tier. So whether you're doing a story, whether you're doing the expeditions from the base game as end game, or you're doing the new end game, the Trials of Tar Your Guitar, everything is for world tier. And that's a good thing. So now your progress isn't stunted to just this tier and that tier. It's just one tier or one tier system that you can level up doing whatever you want to do. So whether you want to just grind expeditions because it's a little bit more variety, you can do that. Or you want to grind the new trials, you can do that. Or you just want to play the story. The story is not going to give you as much. You know, they push you to do the trials, but again, you could do whatever you want to do, but you'll still gain some type of XP doing or for your apocalypse tiers. So again, with that being said, now the cap was 15. Now the cap is 40. But based on what the developers told us before launch and what the people with early access, the actual, the streamers and the guys that got the game early and really are what they call ambassadors for the game, they've had the game for a couple of weeks now and they still haven't reached the level 40 unless they cheating. So they pretty much said they didn't want it to be instant. It's going to be a grind. It is what it is. And like I said, it's tough, but maybe it'll change. Also, we got, as far as skills, you have pack skills now. So in the base game, you had about, I think, 15 or 13 or 20 maybe skill points for a skill tree that you can reset anytime you want. It doesn't cost any in-game currency. You can play play around with it. It is a top, middle, bottom tree, and you can kind of feed into each tree. You're not stuck to just doing a bottom tree. You can start branching out into other parts of the skill tree to try to get the most perfect build. So what they've done with that is they've introduced the PAX trees, and you only get 5 of those, but those 5 are potent as hell. What they tried to do was balance the game a little bit, because in the base game, it was really for each class 1, maybe 2 at the most types of builds that people were making with the legendary gear, pretty much being 1 or 2 meta play styles for each class. So what they've tried to do is make some nerfs and some balances to change how you interact with the game. And now you have this PAX tree to where some of your mods may have been nerfed, but you have the skills that you can spec into, and it pretty much keeps you feeling like a god. So it's a step back, but I think it was the right step to allow people to do different things instead of just being pushed into doing this one build for this one class. So I think it's great, and I've felt the difference in my Devastator, because Devastator was kind of looked at as the worst class, but man, I got 2 real important skills on that PAX tree that I melt everything, and you'll see in my gameplay. I'm just slamming the ground, everything's dropping dead. It's amazing. Also, they got ascension tiers, so that's another type of skill system, passive bonuses that you're leveling up as you play, and I think the max for that is 200. But there's 4 different main areas that you can focus points into. One is more so about anomaly damage and damage against elites, and another one will be about your firepower and critical damage and armor piercing. Another one will be about defensive and healing. But you only get so many that you can spec into, but it'll be passive boost just in general. So you will spec into anomaly damage. So if you have an anomaly build and you start putting points into just passive anomaly damage, it's just going to, exponentially make you that much more powerful. So again, they've reduced some of the mods or made the mods more interactive. Instead of just killing something and making a mod activate, it's about getting a critical shot or whatever, however they got it set up. It's 500 some odd mods, man. It's so many that you can choose from and get going. But they've done those nerfs to the mods to make you really think about the overall build and synergize everything together. The loot, got a lot of different loot, a lot more legendary sets for each class, some general legendary sets that any class really can benefit from. Again, I said 500 something odd mods. It's a ridiculous amount of mods in this game. And that's pretty much the gist of what's happened. And then, of course, the new end game is Trials of Tarja Gatar. It's essentially a big dungeon where you have different arenas that you go through, whether you choose to or not, but you can target loot. So they have different arenas one for chest piece, one for your legs, one for your arms, for your helmet, for your boots. And you don't have to, but if you're leveling up and you're trying to get the right drop, it is pretty wise that you do that until you get to the max level. But it rains loot. I didn't realize that, they said you were going to get a lot of loot, but hell, once I cleared one and opened up the chest, everything just kept just dropping out. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds. Like, dang, is this going to end? I wasn't expecting that. So it really does rain loot, and you get a lot of stuff, and that's the best place to get the apocalypse gear. And that's another change is before you only had 2 mods. Now with the apocalypse gear, you can get 3 mods. So not only is it just new loot in general, but you have 3 mods to make your build just absolutely nutty. And again, there's the addictive side of a looter shooter is the RNG of getting the right drop with the right mods, or maybe 2 perfect mods and then 1 that you can change with crafting. So it's there for you if you really enjoy the loot chase. You can do that. So yeah, you go through all those areas, and there's like 3 main bosses. And right now, I don't know if this is intentional because they really haven't said anything about it, but at the final boss, once you beat the final boss, you get to choose one specific legendary piece of gear. And what you can do is, if you don't die so many times in the trials, you can just go to the lobby and then go right back and then beat the boss again and do that a couple times to kind of just farm loot and maybe chase one specific drop. Right now, man, I'm eating. It's a lot of good stuff happening, and I'm enjoying it. And I don't know if they're gonna fix that type of cheese. I don't know if you call it a cheese again. I don't know if it's intentional, but I'm taking advantage of it while I can, and I've gotten some good stuff from it, and it's just making my build better and better and better. Lots of good changes. I'm loving it. So some final thoughts about the game and how I'm feeling about it, and some of my takes on some of the feedback I'm hearing is, I've seen people saying it's too repetitive. What do you expect from a looter shooter? what looter shooter hitting repetitive? I've seen people say there's no pinnacle. What am I grinding levels for? What am I trying to get to the highest power for? I mean, what are you trying to do that for in any other game? That's a looter shooter. I mean, say it's a raid, you do the raid, and then you end up farming the raid. Is that not repetitive? I just don't understand that train of thought. Maybe variety is the word people may be wanting to say, and I get that. There's not a lot of variety. I mean, it's essentially a new game, a new franchise. They're trying to make it a franchise. And another thing I've seen people recommend, adding daily bounties or daily challenges. This is not a live service game. If you approach this like a live service game and try to just get to the max immediately, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's not a live service game. They've not tried to pretend it's a live service game. I don't know if their goal is to make it a live service game, but don't approach it like that. And you might have a better, time with it. Just, play when you want to play, because you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to miss some event. You're not going to miss some weekly offering. I mean, you can play it for a little while and go play something else and then come back and pick up right where you left off. Just start demolishing stuff. So just keep that in mind. If you are struggling, I've seen this a lot too. Again, just think about how you're playing the game, and also don't be ashamed to drop the apocalypse tier down to something that's more manageable until you get the right drops. And once you get those drops that synergize well with the mods and the skill trees, and then you push it up again and try to go at it a different way. And then, once you learn the spawns, the maps, again, the movement, you'll start to take hold of that tier that you were struggling in, and then before you know it, you'll be on to the next one. So don't feel like you have to try to brute force your way through a tier that you're struggling through until you get the right stuff. And with that being said, again, the goal is to try a variety of builds. I mean, it's a lot of opportunity to make different builds, and the goal is to be able to do the highest tier in-game content and make it look easy, and maybe do it fast depending on what class you're playing with. If you can do that, then you've mastered the game. That's what it's all about. How quick can you spam your abilities? How can you output the most damage or tank the most damage? And that's another cool thing, is because at the end of an expedition or your trials, you literally see a breakdown of all the numbers. You'll see what mod did the most damage. How much damage did you mitigate? How much damage did you take? The skills that you use and what damage that they do. I mean, it breaks down so many. Again, I said this game is mathematical. It's all about the numbers. So if you like that type of stuff, it's there for you. Another thing I've seen, and it's subjective. People say $40 is too expensive if you're upgrading. The base game, if you're buying the base game and the expansion together, I think it may be $60. That's subjective, man. I mean, if you got it, you got it. I know I'll blow $40 on DoorDash. I mean, I don't really know what to say about that one. I can't say, well, for $40, is it worth it? And at the same time, I think that's a weird kind of gauge that people have using these past couple of years, thanks to live service games and just monetization and microtransactions in general, how they've been incorporated into gaming. I've seen people say how blasphemous, microtransactions and loot boxes and things are in gaming. But here's an offering that there are absolutely no other incentives to spend money in this game. You drop 40 bones, that 40 bones is, you get hours and hours of loot chasing and grinding and making extraordinary types of builds. It's what the dollar per hour value. I mean, that's I don't know. It's just a weird thing that live service and microtransaction heavy games has kind of introduced into the zeitgeist of defining how good a game is. But that's subjective. I mean, hey, if what you're seeing on YouTube from my gameplay, from my perspective, from other people's perspective, if you don't want to try it, that's your prerogative. But this is a easy amount of money I've spent, and I've only put in maybe 7 hours since Tuesday, if that. So, hey, 7 hours for $40. I guess that's fair. I don't know. That's just a weird thing. But anywho, my biggest gripe right now with the game is the XP gains for your Apocalypse tier. I just feel like it's just too slow, especially when you're doing trials and you're doing each trove for the targeted loot. That easily can run you a hour, if not more, depending on your build, how fast you melting stuff, and if you're doing every little area, that's a lot of time, and you don't get a whole lot of XP for that. So I hope that they kind of revisit that. They don't have to make it super fast, but at the same time, it may need some tuning. But that's my biggest gripe with the game right now, is just those XP games for your Apocalypse tiers. But again, like people are saying, Outriders World Slayer is more Outriders, but it's a lot, and I'm hoping that the game is successful, because I hope that, in the future there's more classes, more types of arenas. It's a beautiful game. Just again, if you're looking at my footage, hell, there was times when I just stopped and just looked around, because I mean it's beautiful. It's on the Unreal Engine, so if you know anything about that, Unreal is kind of one of the top dogs when it comes to engines. So it's a beautiful engine, or a beautiful game on a great engine, great story. I hope that they keep it up. So check it out. If not, then it's all good. Everything ain't for everyone. I understand that. My review ranking, whether it's some Reggie, some mid, or some fire, you already know. This is that high octane 93 premium gas. I love it. I highly recommend it, especially if you like looter shooters and nuanced looter shooters where you really have to put some thought into it, and you get to see your numbers and how everything works together. Go for it. So, on to the news. God of War Ragnarok has been confirmed by Cory Barlog, the director for Santa Monica Studio with Sony. They were supposed to make some announcement this week, but something, I guess, went wrong. They didn't have it the way they wanted it, but on Twitter, he did confirm that the game is going to come out sometime this year. They just haven't said when. And it's weird. I've seen a lot of people mad about that. But at the same breath, I've heard people say, well, if they're not ready to say anything, they don't say anything. They're saying too much. So, I swear, people just don't know what the hell they want, man. It's so weird. Social media is... Anywho. But God of War Ragnarok is coming. Some more boy. Also, Sony, they had a live stream this week. They were showcasing some new monitors and headphones. So I haven't really looked at it yet, but I want to go back and revisit that. And I'll probably drop a link in the description on YouTube. So check that out. I think they got some pretty high-end monitors coming out. So something to look into if you care about that type of stuff. And I've been slack on the memory of the week for the past 2 episodes, but this week I got one for y'all. And this was suggested by my beautiful wife because I talked about Apple last time. She said, what would be a good question is the first time you really use Apple products, and how deep are you into the Apple ecosystem? And for me, I'm trying to think. I don't remember using Apple products or Mac in the 90s. I think by the time we actually got a computer, it was a Windows, of course. That was the most affordable. And I think the first time I really bothered with an Apple product was an iPod. Yeah. Boy, I had a bomb iPod and some old busters in Atlanta right off Gresham Road. Them old hustlers that Gucci took warned me about. They broke in my shit when I was watching the SEC championship game with the homies. Dugan's, that was the restaurant. Yeah, we went to Dugan's. And it was all flat shows, a Gresham, one of them. And yeah, they busted my truck and stole all my stuff. But yeah, I had a 250 gig iPad or iPod with all kind of music that I just can't even find anymore. But after that, it took me some while before I actually bothered with another Apple product. I got an iPhone. I was a grown ass man. Before that, I didn't care about no phone really, but over the years, the technology changed where the phone became your music device. So, I think, when did I get that iPhone? I think that was an iPhone 6, maybe 6S. Whatever year that came out, that might have been 2013, 14, something like that. That was my first iPhone, and I've been in the ecosystem since. And it only was a phone. And the first time I got an iPad was maybe 2018 or the end of 2017, right before 2018. And I still got that same iPad now, but I just ordered a new one, the iPad Air, and I ordered that June 16th, and it still ain't got here, and the day is July the 2nd. So, anywho, and then of course I got the watch now, thanks to the missus. It's a good birthday present. And I got the AirPods because I be at work and I just have my little have one in, and I just be listening to music or podcasts, and when I work out. But I'm in the ecosystem. I'm in it just because I've spent so much money with them, and everything transfers so easily. You get one phone and you just hold the phone up and everything transfers. I'm old and I don't be feeling like starting over. So I'm in the ecosystem. I'm an Apple head. So when's the first time y'all use an Apple product, and are you in the Apple ecosystem? If you are. If not, it's cool too. But anywho, another episode of Frames and Flops in the books. Y'all be good. Stay cool. It's hot out there. Happy 4th. Drink some cold ones. If you don't, drink some water. Drink some sweet tea. Have something good to eat. And hopefully you got a day off from work, so you can watch and listen to Frames and Flops on all streaming platforms and on YouTube. But as always, tell a friend to tell a friend. Y'all be good. Catch y'all next time.
Thank you all for tuning in to Frames and Flops. Bye bye.